Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. It is a lovely day here in the Ozarks. Temperatures not terrible, mid 80s, high humidity, but mid 80s. But hey, the rest of the week is looking pretty good, and so getting into that kind of sorta kind of fall like, but it's the Ozarks, so we'll have a second summer or third or fourth summer at some point. But you know, we might get a little hint of fall here soon, and I know that some of you understand what I'm talking about, those of you that live in the South. Obviously, a lot of bad things are going on in the world. It looks like there's a potential for World War III everywhere you look, right? I mean, it's all around the corner. The potential for an election stealing, manipulation kind of garbage is becoming more and more likely, right? DNC has their big convention this week, and they are generous people. They really are. They're giving away free vasectomies and free abortions. I mean, such caring people. They're also expecting lots of violence and riots and all that kind of stuff. Russia's constantly getting ready to, retaliate against Ukraine, apparently, if they're ever going to do it. And Iran is constantly preparing to attack and retaliate against Israel if they're ever going to do it. More and more things are happening in those two fronts that appear like they're worsening, but it's not really gotten there yet. Maybe it will eventually. The monkeypox thing has really taken center stage here lately. Several European countries are saying that come this week they're going to unveil some new protocols, possibly restrictions. Mexico just said today that they are concerned that there are a lot of people coming into their country that possibly have monkeypox. And where do you think all of these illegals, or at least a big bulk of them, are walking through? Mexico. So could the monkeypox pop up before the election and cause some type of epidemic, pandemic lockdown, even though it's only truly affecting a certain portion of the American population? Yeah, it's possible. The economy, it is what it is, and it's not looking good. The dollar's losing value. Gold is skyrocketing into record levels. And over half of the world is saying that they are very interested in switching over to the BRICS payment system, not the United States dollar, but the BRICS payment system, and looking into other forms of currency. There was an article this week talking about how nations are walking away from global currencies and looking at their own, their own local currencies, which it's a bad thing for the U.S. dollar, because that's a lot of what gives America its power anymore, is that the rest of the world uses our currency for everything, and even though it's completely fiat and worthless. And the day will come eventually that the world kind of sees that and stops being afraid of America and walking away from it. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. I've not mentioned everything, obviously, but I want to shift gears, actually. You probably see a little hint back there behind me. This is not necessarily a teaching video. This is a fishing video. There you go. I'm going to try to entice you. A lot of you have been critical that I only talk about certain things on this channel anymore, and I don't talk about how you can prepare. And a part of that is because those kind of videos just don't do so well, and I put them over on locals. Another big reason is because a lot of times the things that I want to say in those videos get censored a lot by YouTube. So if you want to watch videos of me doing more educational things and sharing, imparting some of the slivers of knowledge that I have, I would suggest you go over to Locals, sign up. You don't have to be a paid member to be part of Locals, but you do have to pay to get some access to some of the stuff that I put out there. It's your choice, but when YouTube kicks me off of here, and it'll come someday, that's where you'll find me. But I've been occasionally off and on making medical videos over there, emergency medicine videos. And so I'm gonna start a new, I guess a new series is what people want to call it. And so I want to talk to you about that here, give you a little hint of it, and then the rest for the next week or two or whatever will be over on Locals. I'm going to ruffle some feathers when I talk about this. I don't make any claims that I'm an expert in pre-hospital emergency medicine, but I am a volunteer fireman, and so and EMS, and so I do go on a lot of medical calls, and I've done that in the past. I've worked in hospitals, went through all sorts of various different types of training, and I will tell you that a lot of the stuff that is presented to you on YouTube by prepper channels when it comes to medical, it's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not misinformation. It's just not all the information. It's just a tiny bit. It's kind of like, let me use this as an example. And I know this is going to upset some people, but just stick with me. I know some of you have already gotten tired. Your short attention span from being manipulated by the MK Ultra TV and movie industries. You know, you have such a short attention span. I need some CGI explosions and stuff in the background to keep your attention, but just follow with me. It's kind of like if I was going to teach you how to work on a car. If I said, okay, I'm going to teach you how to work on this car and maintain it and keep it running and do all the maintenance and everything on it, and then I just made a video teaching you how to check the oil. And I said, if you check this oil, and this is how you check it, and this is what you're looking for, and this is how you check the oil, this car will run forever, and you can maintain it and everything. Well, that's partly true. You do need to check your oil, and you need to know what to look for, whether it's low or if it's got gas in it or if it's got water in it. I mean, you can determine a lot from checking the oil of your vehicle. But that's only just a small portion. There's all kinds of other maintenance and mechanical things that you need to know about a vehicle, right? And so a lot of the stuff that's being taught online, it's not wrong. And I don't want to downplay it as being wrong. I just want to tell you that it's only part of it a lot of times. There's a lot of focus on what to do in an emergency if you're in a combat scenario, right? Because that's cool. It's cool. Everyone thinks it is. You know, it's like Call of Duty video games. I've never played it before in my life, but it's cool, right? And so we got to put our cool kit on, our high-speed gear, and we got to go out and we got to train with cool gear and how to stop bleeding and plug holes and stuff. And that's all very important because it's possible, maybe it's possible that some of you might encounter situations like that where you need to know that. But the reality is it's probably not going to be the most common thing that you come across. And so if all of your prepper medical training is focused on how to plug holes and stop bleeding, and not a whole lot on any other stuff, then you're really selling yourself short. You're missing out on a whole lot, because I can tell you from an emergency medical pre-hospital scenario, regardless of whether I'm out here in the country or if I'm in a busy city, plugging holes from bullets and stab wounds definitely can happen, but it's not the most common thing that you will deal with. And when we find ourselves in a scenario where 911 and emergency medicine and hospitals and ambulances and stuff may not be readily available, they may be much more slow, or they just may not be there at all, the burden for taking care of ourselves and the people around us will fall on us, whether you're a doctor or not. I'm not trying to teach you how to be a doctor or a paramedic or an EMT. I mean, I could do some of those types of things, I guess, but I'm not a doctor. We could talk about those things, but you're not going to get any kind of professional certification. I'm not giving those out for any of the videos that I make. Those are only in-person classes. But anyways, we need to know some stuff, right? You need to know how to deal with burns and broken bones and cardiac arrest and strokes and falls and snake bites and dog bites and heat exhaustion and cold exposure and on and on and on. Vehicles and accidents, falling off of ladders, all kinds of stuff. We have to know these kinds of things. And it needs to be more than just your $19.95 first aid kit at Walmart and the little first aid little booklet that typically comes with those things. Even though you're not certified, you can still learn a lot. And I'm not telling you to do this kind of stuff now in the medical system, but when the medical system fails. And so that's where we're going to start going to. I've already done some of that, of course, like I said, in videos over our locals, but I'm going to start making more and more videos teaching that kind of stuff. Because, again, I'm not teaching you to do surgery on someone. I'm not going to teach you how to remove an appendix or sew an arm back on. But there are things that we can do. Right here, I just pulled out some examples of stuff. one of the big things that as a first responder, because we're typically the very first person on the scene. In fact, 99.9% of the time, I'm the first person on the scene, or maybe one of the guys that are under me. And we have to not just stabilize the situation, stabilize the patient, but we also have to figure out what's going on. We have to not really diagnose, but to gather as much information and pass that on to an ambulance that's on its way, or maybe a helicopter that's on its way, so that they have a good idea of what's going on. And while there are certain situations that it's pretty obvious, right? You pull up on someone and there's blood squirting out of their arm because there's a hole in it. Kind of understand that one. Their leg is bent off to the side some weird way. Well, that one's broken. There are some obvious things, but there are times that you pull up on the scene and someone's just laying there. Maybe they're unconscious. Maybe they're conscious, but they don't really know what happened, and you don't really know what happened, and they don't feel right. And so you've got to figure out. And so diagnosing, or at least collecting vital information on someone, is very critical. And I believe this is something that preppers can do also. Does that make you a doctor? Does it make you a nurse or a paramedic? No, of course not. But there are some things that you can pick up on by having certain things around, stocked up on, to give you an idea of what's going on with this person. Are they in cardiac arrest? Is it possible that they're having a stroke? Do they need oxygen? Is there some kind of injury that's causing internal bleeding, or that's causing a blockage somewhere? There's all kinds of things that you can figure out by learning to take vital information. That's why they call it collecting vitals from people. And I have some examples here of things that are actually available to preppers. Not necessarily the stuff that's the high quality, high speed, priced stuff you would find in a hospital. Most of these items are things that you can purchase. And so I'm just going to give you an example, and we'll go into greater detail in other videos. This is just a simple blood pressure cuff. You can get these at Walmart, you can get these at Amazon. We do carry these a lot of times because they typically work. When they first came out, these little small ones, they weren't as accurate, but they've increased their accuracy a lot. And we test these against manual BP cuffs, and they do really good. So that's something that you can purchase. This here is an old-fashioned SpO2 and pulse oximeter. See, you can get these also pretty cheap on Amazon, Walmart, places like that, and it helps you to monitor the person's heart rate and tell how much oxygen is in their blood. This here is an actual patient monitor. This is a much cheaper model than you would see in hospitals, but you can check someone's pulse with it. You can run their BP. You can actually hook them up to an EKG. And this is something that the average person can actually afford. And sometimes you can even find these used. You can gather a lot of information. If the world has come to an end and you're taking care of someone that's had some injury or some illness or some type of disease of some sort, heart problems, things like that, having something like this that you can keep track of them and their vital information would be very important. Just a simple, thermometer. Everyone should have that. Here's another one. This is actually a fairly popular name brand, but it's an old model. And so occasionally I come across some of these. Let me turn this thing off or silence it. There it is. Silence it there. I come across these every once in a while online and sometimes in person. And these are originally, when they first came out, would have been thousands of dollars. And of course they're old now, and so hospitals have gotten rid of them and they've upgraded to much more modern equipment. But this model does work. It does the same thing as this one. And I actually purchased this. It works very well. I purchased it for, I think it was $90. And you can check a blood pressure, you can do EKG, all that kind of stuff on this. Yes, it's old, but it works. And so having some more advanced medical equipment and even medical, treatments and stuff is not a bad idea. It doesn't mean that you're going to go and use that kind of stuff right now, because we have an existing functioning medical system. But at some point we may not. And when you look at the things that are going on, and you look at the supply chain, and you look at the you know, all of the stuff that's happening, wars and everything, pandemics, everything, we can start to see the possibility, a greater possibility, of things happening to where medical services are not available. And then, like I've said before, there may come a time that the medical services are still available. They're still adequate. There's still plenty of it. But you're not qualified to get it because you don't have the proper designated identification, and you don't have the proper microchip, or you don't have the proper this or that. And so we as preppers need to have plans in the future to take, you know, care of that. And then this kind of stuff is actually where prepper mags and stuff really come into handy, because that not everybody needs to have all of this stuff. You know, if you have a group of 4 or 5 families, they can go together and have this kind of stuff. It's even possible for you and I know actually several groups. I have been in contact over the years with numerous small little groups, and they'll actually set up a little medical clinic on their property. They'll designate someone in their group, and they'll maybe buy one of them little mini sheds, you know, those little portable building sheds, and they'll turn it into a little clinic inside for their own people where they can take care of stuff. Maybe someone in their group is a nurse or a paramedic or an EMT or even a doctor or a veterinarian, and they will set it up so that they can take care of themselves in times of need. I know there are certain things that's difficult or even impossible for the average person to get a hold of, but there are a lot of things that you can. And not all of it is terribly expensive. And some of it, you know, some of this stuff, technology has been out long enough that older models have come down. In fact, just the other day, I found I didn't purchase it, but I may in the future, I found a portable ultrasound machine, you know, the size of a laptop, used but refurbished and fully functioning for like $450. So you can get this kind of stuff relatively cheap, especially if you're purchasing as a group. And I would strongly suggest expand your mind when it comes to medical well beyond gauzes and band-aids and splints, because yes, those things happen, but there are also much greater medical emergencies that will happen. And you need to take care of these things as best as you can. You're not a doctor, you're not a surgeon. Well, at least most of you aren't, but there are certainly things that you can do and learn. There's all kinds of emergency medicine books and things that you can acquire, that you can start learning as much as possible. And then, like I said, acquiring more than just, you know, IFAKs are great. I've got, aside from my first responder medical bags, which are, I have 2 in here, I think I've got also 2 IFAKs, and maybe more. I have them everywhere. They're great. Everyone should have them, but you should have more than that. You should have something more than just an IFAK. And so that's what I want to push you, encourage you to do that. And I'll be doing that in some more videos over on the Locals channel. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.